Welcome back. Before we begin, allow yourself to arrive. There is nowhere you need to reach, nothing you need to solve. Only this moment, only breathing. Imagine a singing bowl. Its sound appears softly expanding through the room, then slowly fading, until silence becomes audible again. A candle burning quietly inside darkness. A single drop touching the surface of a still lake. And for one brief moment, everything widens. Life can feel steady, familiar, as if tomorrow will continue the language of today. But life moves more like weather. Clear skies, moving winds, changing seasons. Nothing wrong, nothing broken. Only movement, only change. No one wakes each morning under a sky that remains endlessly clear. Unexpected loss. A silence that suddenly feels different. Words we never expected to hear. Someone leaving, something ending, a future quietly rearranging itself. Most storms do not arrive loudly. They enter quietly, when the body has finally softened. When the shoulders stop preparing, when we begin believing everything is safe. Then something changes, and immediately, something inside responds. The breath shortens, the jaw tightens, the chest braces, the mind begins searching. What happened? How do I fix this? How do I make this stop? Not because we are weak, but because being human means feeling movement when the ground shifts. And when adversity appears, what begins moving inside? Fear, resistance, the need to control, the need to understand, the impulse to blame, or the quiet feeling that life should have unfolded differently. Many people meet difficulty as if it were an enemy, something to defeat, something to outrun. And when fighting fails, they slowly collapse into helplessness. But there is another way, a quieter way, not passive, not pretending pain does not hurt, not forcing calm, only stopping for one breath before becoming the reaction. A different kind of strength, one that does not fight the storm, one that does not become the storm, only standing, breathing, remaining. And slowly, the storm is still here, but someone inside is no longer running. When life feels unfair, something inside immediately tightens. Not because we are weak, but because the mind was built to protect. The breath changes, the chest closes, thought begins moving quickly, searching, explaining, looking for somewhere to place the discomfort. Who caused this? Who should have known? Why did this happen? The ego does not enjoy uncertainty. It wants a shape, a reason, a direction. And when reality cannot be controlled, it often reaches for blame. Not because blame is truth, but because blame temporarily feels safer than not knowing. Blame can feel like strength. It gives pain a voice. It gives confusion a target. For a moment, we no longer feel powerless, but underneath, it is often pain wearing armor, not wanting to be touched, not wanting to feel vulnerable. From a mindful perspective, blame is not something to judge, only something to notice. Because once it is seen, something changes. We begin realizing this anger is protecting hurt. This certainty is protecting fear. This reaction is trying to avoid what feels unbearable. And in that moment, a little space appears. Not to fix reality, only to stop becoming the reaction. But blame has a quieter twin. When we become tired of fighting, we sometimes stop moving, and we call that acceptance. But often, It is resignation, a silent belief that life has already decided. Nothing can change. I cannot move. This is simply my life, and slowly, without realizing, the world becomes smaller, not because the doors closed, but because something inside stopped walking. Mindfulness does not ask us to deny pain. It does not ask us to become positive. It only asks, can this moment be seen before it becomes identity? Can difficulty be experienced without becoming who we are? Imagine two seeds falling onto rocky ground. The first seed spends all its energy studying the stones, waiting for the earth to become easier, waiting for life to become fair, and so it never opens. Not because it lacks life, but because it keeps negotiating with the ground. The second seed also feels the hardness. It does not pretend the stones are soft. It does not deny difficulty, but quietly. It sends one small root downward, then another. Not fighting, not complaining, only moving. Until one day, beneath stone, it finds water. Not because life became easier, but because life inside the seed became deeper. Adversity becomes heavier when fear is the only voice inside us. Resistance can make suffering feel permanent, but something changes when awareness appears. When we stop asking, why is this happening? And begin asking, what inside me is moving right now? The storm may still remain, but the prison begins opening, not through force, not through surrender, only through seeing, and seeing clearly is already the beginning of freedom. Most people think strength appears in movement, quick decisions, fast answers, immediate certainty. But there is another kind of strength, a quieter one. It cannot always be seen from the outside, because sometimes the strongest moment is not action. It is the moment before action, the moment when something difficult happens, and something inside does not immediately follow. The strongest people are not always those who react the fastest. They are often those who create space between what happens and what happens inside them. And inside that space, something unexpected appears. Freedom. Imagine a difficult message arrives. Someone misunderstands you. Someone speaks unfairly. Someone sees only a small part of your heart and believes they understand the whole story. Immediately, the body responds. The breath changes. The stomach tightens. The jaw prepares. Thought begins gathering evidence. Defend, explain, prove, attack, withdraw, become cold, become smaller, become louder. The impulse appears so quickly that it feels like truth. But pause, just for one breath. Not to suppress, not to become passive, only to notice. Something is happening, and something inside it wants to move. That moment is more powerful than it looks, because the pause interrupts something ancient, the automatic movement of becoming every thought, every emotion, every story. The pause says, wait, stay, see first, move later, and suddenly, the anger is still there. But now, someone is watching it. The fear is still there. But someone is no longer drowning. Nothing outside has changed. But inside, a little space appears. And in that space, choice returns. People often expect your reaction. Reaction is predictable. Reaction belongs to old patterns. But clarity surprises people. Because clarity does not rush. It does not need to win immediately. It does not need to protect identity every second. Stillness does not mean silence. Stillness does not mean accepting everything. Stillness means seeing clearly before moving, responding instead of spilling, choosing instead of collapsing, remaining present without abandoning yourself. This kind of stillness is not passive. It carries quiet strength. Imagine a lake. When wind touches the surface, everything becomes distorted. The moon breaks, the trees disappear, nothing reflects clearly. But the lake has not lost its ability to reflect. It only needs stillness. The same is true inside us. When fear moves, we mistake emotion for truth. When thought rushes, we mistake reaction for wisdom. But when the water settles, truth does not appear. Truth was already there. It simply becomes visible. No need to understand anything. No need to improve yourself. Only breathing. The feeling of air entering, leaving, the sound of distant water, the body being held by gravity. Nothing to solve, nothing to become, only this breath, only this moment, and for one brief moment, allow life to move without following it. When life throws mud, do not become mud. This does not mean allowing harm. It does not mean pretending everything is fine. It means, do not let the shape of another person's fear become the shape of your own heart. When someone acts from anger, we feel invited to become anger. When someone becomes cold, we feel invited to close. When life becomes hard, we feel invited to become hard. But inner strength moves differently. It does not absorb every weather that passes through. It remains rooted, not rigid. Rooted, able to bend, unable to disappear. When life throws mud, do not become mud. This does not mean allowing harm. It does not mean pretending everything is fine. It means, do not let the shape of another person's fear become the shape of your own heart. When someone acts from anger, we feel invited to become anger. When someone becomes cold, we feel invited to close. When life becomes hard, we feel invited to become hard. But inner strength moves differently. It does not absorb every weather that passes through. It remains rooted, not rigid. Rooted, able to bend, unable to disappear. Fear makes the world smaller. Fear says, protect, hold tighter, keep more, trust less, take before losing, shrink before being hurt. Fear believes survival comes from closing, but wisdom asks a different question. Not, how do I win? Not, how do I protect only myself? But, what creates more life from this moment? What creates more understanding, more dignity, more possibility? Wisdom is not passive. Wisdom expands what fear contracts. Imagine a small bowl placed at the center of many people. Everyone is hungry. Everyone reaches. Everyone fears there will not be enough. And suddenly, the bowl feels smaller than it really is. Now imagine, someone quietly adds water, adds vegetables, adds warmth. The bowl becomes soup. Nothing magical happened. No one gained more. But something widened. And because something widened, everyone received. This is not only about generosity. This is how consciousness moves. Sometimes abundance does not begin by gaining. It begins when we stop measuring life through the size of our own bowl. The ego asks, what belongs to me? The ocean asks, what wants to move through me? The ego says, protect identity, protect image, protect certainty. The ocean says, remain open, remain clear, remain alive. An ocean does not become poor because rivers enter. The heart does not become weaker because compassion appears. Depth does not remove adversity. Depth changes how adversity moves inside us. The storm still reaches the surface, but it no longer touches the ocean floor. Inner strength is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to become smaller than life, to remain generous without becoming empty, to remain clear without becoming cold, to remain soft without collapsing. And slowly, something changes. The world outside may still move as it always has. But inside, the bowl widens, the roots deepen, the water settles, and what once felt like survival begins becoming a way of living. Before we close, there is one simple practice you can carry into ordinary moments. Not another rule, not another method to master, only something small to remember when life begins moving quickly. 3 quiet steps. N.E.W. Not to become someone new, only to return to the part of you that was never lost. N. Notice when difficulty appears. Pause. Not for long, only long enough to notice. Before changing anything, see what is here. Notice the body, notice the breath, notice the weather inside, the tightening, the heat, the pressure, the urge to explain, to fix, to defend, to leave. And gently, name it. Not, I am angry. Only, anger is here. Not, I'm afraid. Only, fear is moving. A small shift, but important. Because the moment we stop becoming the experience, we begin relating to it. E. Embrace after noticing. Do not rush to remove. Do not push away. Do not spiritualize. Do not pretend to be peaceful. Simply allow this moment to exist, like opening a window inside the room, not to invite the storm in, only to stop fighting the weather. Experience changes when it is allowed to breathe. Treat adversity not as punishment, not as an enemy, only as a visitor carrying information. Some visitors stay briefly, some remain longer, but none of them become the house. You remain the house. W. Wisdom action. And then, before acting, ask quietly if clarity were choosing. What would happen next? Not what feels satisfying, not what proves I am right, not what protects my image, only what creates a little more truth, a little more care, a little more life. Sometimes wisdom will speak. Sometimes wisdom will stay silent. Sometimes wisdom will walk away. Sometimes wisdom will remain. There is no perfect answer, only this. Respond from what is clear, not from what is loud. Notice, embrace, wisdom actions, N.E.W. Again, not to become someone better, only to stop leaving yourself every time life becomes difficult. One breath, one pause, one clear step, and over time, storms still arrive. But something changes. You stop asking life to become easier and begin becoming more available to meet it. Not as an enemy, not as a victim, only as someone learning how to remain fully alive. Dear friend, before this moment ends, allow yourself to notice something. You are still here, breathing, listening, feeling, and maybe more quietly than before. Something inside has softened. Not because every question disappeared, not because life suddenly became clear, only because for a few moments you stopped fighting what was already here. Storms have a strange way of changing us, not always through destruction, sometimes through revelation. Storms do not always arrive to drown us. Sometimes they arrive to loosen what no longer belongs. Old certainty, old identity, old ways of holding life. Sometimes they come to deepen roots, to show us what remains when control disappears, to reveal that strength was never hardness, and peace was never the absence of weather. There are things life can take, plans, expectations, images, but there are places inside us that become visible only after the storm. The quality of life has never been determined only by the cards we receive. Life gives different seasons, different losses, different roads, but something remains in our hands. The way we hold experience, the way we meet uncertainty, the way we speak to our own heart when life becomes difficult. Consciousness does not remove pain. It changes the relationship with pain. And quietly, that changes everything. So tonight, or this morning, or wherever this moment finds you, do not rush to become wiser. Do not rush to become healed. Do not rush to become someone who never struggles. Only return. Return to one breath. Return to this body. Return to the quiet place that notices without becoming. Return to the home that exists before every storm and remains after every storm. May you carry a quiet space within that no storm can fully reach. May your roots grow deeper than your fear. May your heart remain open without becoming fragile. And when life changes, may you remember you do not need to become the weather to survive the weather. Thank you for spending these moments with free you. Until we meet again. Soft breathing, distant water, silence.
Morning enters quietly through the window of your room. Nothing appears broken, nothing asks to be repaired. And yet somewhere beneath ordinary breathing, old weather remains, your body still remembering storms the sky has already forgotten. You learn to hold everything as if tension were love, to stay prepared in case peace disappeared, to carry tomorrow before tomorrow arrived, until one day the wind returned, and this time you stay. You watch the fear arrive like rain touching water, and for the first time you did not call it yourself. Freedom does not arrive storm. The thunder may speak, the clouds may gather, but you do not need to wear every weather that moves through your heart. Let the wind be wind, let the rain be rain. You are not the weather, you are the sky. Negotiating with every wave. You stop asking life to guarantee softness. You stop treating change like betrayal. And slowly, something unexpected happens. Pain still visits, but suffering forgets where you live, because a space appears between feeling and becoming. And inside that space, the lake remembers how to reflect. A sea does not wait for a stone to soften. The ocean does not ask permission from storms. The moon never disappeared, only the water was moving. You were never broken, only moving. Freedom does not mean nothing breaks. Freedom does not mean nothing leaves. Freedom means remaining open while life changes. The storm still reaches the surface, but somewhere below there is a place that remains untouched, a place that watches without becoming, a place that stays while seasons move. And maybe that place has always been you. Distant water, no victory, no arrival, only this quiet realization. You do not need to become the weather to survive.